I'm here today with what has become one of my best friends over the last couple of years here, Paula Harris. Paula is an advisor at WH Cornerstone Investments in Massachusetts, and Paula has been a huge inspiration to me over the last couple of years, especially. The most recent of which has been what has got me on my TEDx journey here. It's because Paula actually already took this journey. She's completed her TED Talk, and her inspiration from that process, what she was able to give and get from that process, is what really made me interested in starting this journey. So I'm so excited to have Paula here, and I'm really looking forward to kind of our conversation today, going through her journey and being able to share that with everybody out there. So yeah, Paula, say hello, and yeah, it's great to have you here.
Joe, thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here, and you have become one of my best friends. It's been so neat to see how we can support each other. We've at so different entrance points in our business, but we keep learning and growing together, and I think that's really cool. So thank you. Thanks for inviting me today.
Yeah, no, it's been fantastic. So let's just jump right into it. I mean, you had your TEDx journey already. What made you want to start on that path for yourself?
So originally it was, okay, how can I influence as many people as quickly as possible? And TED has that bigger stage. So when I wanted to do mine, I originally had this idea of wanting to do it around motivating women to focus on their financials before a life event would happen, and maybe they, hit by the curveball and they were widowed. And then I had an intern that worked for us, and it was during COVID, and he actually did the youth stage, TEDx Youth. And so he said, you would be great to do a TEDx talk. And he said, but I think what topic you should really consider is the power of the handwritten note. You're so well known for the handwritten note. So as I would tell people about my two ideas, people would be like, oh, that's great. You want to talk about finance. And then I would say the handwritten note. They'd go like, oh my gosh, I remember when my grandma would send me this note, and people would light up. And I said, okay, I still want to affect people to take change in their financial life, but maybe the TEDx stage isn't going to be it. And I'm called to do a different talk. So that's the one I ended up pursuing.
And I can attest to your wonderful handwritten notes. I received several of them over the years, and they are that thing that's a surprise that kind of comes to you, and you're not expecting it anymore these days. And so, yeah, I could see that, when you said that, it would really spark some interest
Yep,
there. And that must have been nice too, to give you that confidence that you knew that you really felt like you were going in that right direction for the topic.
absolutely. It really did reinforce it.
hmm And so when you got into it and you applied and you were able to, to land a spot, what was your kind of, rehearsal process like? Was it hard to find? I mean, it's a very personal, topic. Did you have a hard time putting together that script and getting it to a level that you felt would really deliver the strongest message?
I ended up going the route of hiring a consultant. And I felt that was, given my busy schedule and my natural instinct to fact find things, I could fact find this process to death, or I could find the who that could help me do it. And someone that actually we mutually know, Carrie Oberrunner,
hmm
had told me he had used this gentleman. And so I said, I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna start there. So I was like, okay, help me figure out the process, help me refine my message. So it did that, helped me do the pitch, and then, as you know, it's a lot of work. It's way more work than most people expect. So I'll say my fatal flaw is that I'm gonna wait to really work on the talk until I get I secure my date. So I had, mentally ruminated it for months and everything, but there was never that catalyst that said like, oh my gosh, all right, you got to go do it because you got a date on the calendar. And then I got a last minute call with 3 weeks notice that said, hey, can you come and be in Houston and deliver your talk? And it was like, oh crud. I gotta write this. And I did lean on Coach Caesar and his team to help me. One of the things that was big for me is, having someone else help is really good. And he had great words, but sometimes they weren't always my words.
hmm
So having to like I struggled in the memorization because sometimes the words weren't the way I would flow it. And one of the things I don't think a lot of people know about TEDx talks, they're memorized,
hmm
and you really have to deliver what you submit in writing. And people who are really good at public speaking will be like, "Oh, I speak all the time." Like, this isn't speaking, this is memorization. and you're delivering it in a specific way. And that was, I didn't appreciate how much harder that would be.
Yeah, I was right there with you as I was exploring this process here. When I give a speech, I usually do memorize it. But when you say memorize it, it's usually 95% of it gets memorized.
Yep.
And then you kind of are able to interact with a little bit of the remainder of it. And like you said, it really needs to be in a way that is scripted, in a way that you have it memorized because you have a very tight window that you need to be able to deliver it in. You can't run 5 minutes over.
Yep.
You have to be on point the whole time. And like you said, it's easier to memorize something when it is your words, when it is how you would naturally say something.
Yep.
And I don't know if you could speak to this. For me, one of the challenges is when I write it on a piece of paper, it sounds okay, that sounds good. But then when I say it out loud, it feels awkward coming out sometimes because maybe it doesn't sound exactly like me. Did you run into that at all?
Oh, absolutely. And so one of the things I did was I recorded myself in audio. And I read it off the page in the way that I would want to, have the emotion. And then I would listen to myself delivering it to help me with that memorization so that I could have that energy come off the page so that like it felt good, it felt like me. And that was a helpful step. But again, this was all in a very small condensed window, which I wish was a little longer now that I look back in hindsight, but not as long as, months and months and months.
hmm Yeah, no, that's a great tip, and I could see that being helpful because even when you speak out loud, when I'm speaking right now, I hear myself in a certain way, and when we go back and we listen to this, it's going to be a little bit different. I didn't think I sounded quite like that. I didn't sound. I thought I emphasized this more than what it sounds like in the recorded version. So that's a great tip. I'm going to use
Yeah,
that. Thank you, Paula.
you're so
Uh,
welcome. Happy.
any other tips that you came across, as you were going through things that stood out that said, "Hey, this was particularly helpful," way to kind of approach it?
Yeah, I think the concept of the memorization palace. I don't know if you've come across that yet.
Yeah, why don't you go through that a little bit? Because I
Yeah,
have
so
some
hopefully I'll get
idea
it
of it.
right. But
Yeah.
like we have natural routines that we do every day, and you do, like it's already memorized. So if you can stack things on top of that as memory cues, it's much easier. So for me, I thought, okay, I wake up in the morning. Okay, when I wake up from bed, that's where my intro will be. So I was memorizing like, okay, intro, bed. I go into the bathroom to brush my teeth. Okay, that's my next segment.
Mhm.
Go to the kitchen, put the boiling water on for tea. That's my next section. And sort of as I would work through my morning routine, that's how I did my memory palace. And that was super helpful. One of the glitches I had for me is giving this short period of time. It was like I worked on my talk for a week. I delivered it to my group. I got feedback. I started to memorize from there. And then literally the days before, they reordered my talk.
Oh,
And I was like, oh shoot, I had this memory palace. And I
yeah.
was like, I kind of had to let some of that go because it was now out of order. So I think when you get to your final talk and you can get this memory palace done, I think it's a very powerful tool and I highly recommend that.
Okay, so yeah, if you were able to work it in conjunction, but I guess another point from that is if you start memorizing it and then it changes,
Yep.
it sounds like it's hard to flip that around. And so, like you said, you don't brush your teeth before you get out of bed. So
Right.
you need to have those things in the right order there. That's awesome. And
So I would
then,
start thinking about a routine that's long enough, that
mhm.
you would want to sort of incorporate your story into.
And so as you were on that stage and you're giving that, how did that feel? Was it anything that hit you in a way that you weren't kind of expecting, either during it or afterwards?
Yeah. Some other things that were interesting. So my group, there were 10 of us. Five went, then we had a break for an hour, then five went. So we had to be there at 11:30, and I was scheduled for a 4 p.m. time slot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I had a lot of waiting around time, which was kind of interesting. So how do you keep your keep in state?
hmm
That was a big deal. So you also, wanting to support the other people that were going to be on the stage and then protect your own energy. So it was like I had my memorization. I also have a few playlists that I use that like keep my energy up. So I
Oh,
would
that's a
kind of
great thing.
alternate between, okay, listen to some music, and listen to myself giving the talk over and over again. That was really helpful. And then getting on the stage, I was fortunate. This was in a sound studio. It was very professionally done. It was amazing. We had camera crews everywhere, and it was a really tight stage. It was like a white room with the red letters behind, and a fairly small audience. And they were so warm and welcoming and comforting. We all had an opportunity to go up on that before we gave the talk. I felt really good. I felt great. And I got up there and it was like, oh no, mine goes blank. So, um, luckily people are there to support you and keep you going. So like it ended up working out. But I definitely, I had to fly to my location. So I
Mhm.
flew in 2 days early and I left a day just for memorization and then I had a half day. But I also, for me, I decided not to bring my husband, which is a big deal because I thought, okay, if we're sharing a hotel room, I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, we should have a meal together. Like, don't turn the TV on, whatever. Like, I needed my own space. So I felt a little bad not including him. But I knew I wouldn't be able to stay focused if he was there. And given what short a period of time I had to try to be ready, it was the right decision.
Yeah, and the so takeaway could be get two rooms if you go with your spouse.
Yep,
But also, I mean, kudos to your relationship because, he made it all about you there. You could see someone getting a little bit pulled back or,
that's true.
you don't want me there, but I think it just speaks to the strength of your relationship to, he wanted the best for you. He wanted you to
Yep.
be able to deliver the best you can. So that's really awesome.
Yeah. And one tip I'll say, there was one woman in our group. She actually, her talk was on autism and she's autistic and she coaches people with autism. And
Oh,
she really protected herself. She sat in a corner, didn't really interact. Her heartfelt job. She did a great job with her talk. She didn't have a coach. She applied on her own. She did it all on her own. And it was one of the better talks of the day. So when it's truly heartfelt, it just pours out of someone, and it's just amazing.
and that's the cool thing about a TED Talk is it does take all this work and there is memorization. We talked about all that. At the same time, it's really trying to structure it in a way where the speaker is having a conversation with the audience. It's
Yep.
not an assembly. It's not a
It's not a
conference.
speech.
Yeah, it's a conversation. And so, being able to connect with the audience with what you're trying to share with them to make it something better now in their lives is a really unique setup. And it's a really cool experience to be part of.
Yeah, and I'll say you will anticipate what might land with an audience, but until that day, you don't know. You don't know what the mood will be, and something you didn't think will land will be the thing that will land. And so you've got to be able, and I mean this in a positive way, like you just got to kind of roll with it and not let it derail you or distract you, but like, wow, that was interesting. They got really energized about that, and I thought that was a minor point.
Right, right.
Or they didn't think what my major point was as interesting as I did. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
So, is there any final notes or takeaways that you want to share regarding any part of the TEDx process for you?
for I also for that conversation, I tried to include the audience. Like, okay, who's got an example? Raise your hand. Who's got an example of blah blah blah, so that they were more engaged and it felt more like the conversation rather than just delivering. So finding ways to like engage the audience, I think is good. The other thing I did is I brought a prop out with me. So I brought it out, sat it down. People didn't know what it was until probably two-thirds of the way through, and then I addressed why I brought it out. And that was kind of interesting. So, having some kind of surprise like that kind of keeps people like, but you got to make sure you close the loop. Because if
Hmm.
you brought it out and somehow you blanked and you didn't address it, you'd leave people like, I lost the message because I don't know what they were trying to do with XYZ.
Right, right. No, that's great. That's all
Yeah.
super helpful. And, for me, as I am still on the journey, still
Yep.
walking that line, a lot of great stuff to kind of take away from that. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, my pleasure. So, Joe, tell me a little bit. Like, I know you sort of saw my journey, and you're like, I want to do this too. But
Mhm.
it's a much bigger commitment than that. So, what inspired you to really want to do this?
So the first thing, and I found this with a lot of things in my life here, and you've been the spark for a couple of the really big ones, Paula, is that being around people that have done amazing things makes you think that you can also do it. It becomes a
Yeah.
reality. If you had asked me a year ago, before I even knew Paula did a TEDx, Joe, will you ever do a TEDx? I was like, no, I don't know anything about that. I don't know how to do it. But being around, in this case, you specifically, Paula, was that inspiration. It makes it real. And the same thing happened for my book that I wrote, The Financial Pinwheel. That piece of my life I never thought would exist. I would have never thought I would have been an author, but being around other people that had written books, and a lot of this Paul and I met through Strategic Coach, being around a lot of people that have this purpose and they're driven and they've done these amazing things allows you to see that you can do it as well. And so what I tell a lot of people for the book example is my daughter now, she's going to be 9 years old this month. And it's not a matter of if she's going to write a book, she's trying to decide what she's going to write her book on. So just
Oh,
seeing me do
wow.
it made it possible now in her mind for her, like that's something I'm going to do. And so I think it's just so powerful to be around people that are doing amazing things because it gives you that push that hey, this is possible for me. So that was my initial spark was you, Paula,
Oh,
having this
cool.
journey yourself and knowing, oh, Paula did it, and she's telling me that I could do this, and wanting to go out there and make that impact. And for me, a lot of this stuff I'm focusing on right now is around financial literacy. While our core practice for New Horizons Wealth Management is about trying to help middle class families in a one-on-one situation with our team and them to get them where they're wanting to go. I want to help way more than 200 families a year. It'd
Yeah.
be awesome to spread that message much farther. So between the book and now this, we're really trying to do more in the way of financial literacy to get that out there for people so that they have more resources to draw from. Because in school, we don't get a lot of that.
Yep.
So, for my topic for this, it's specifically about budgeting, delete your budgeting app. And it basically goes through what should you be focusing on to try to improve your situation. Because what a lot of people do is jumping into those numbers. I'm not being good with my money. It's on me. Let
Yep.
me let me dig a little bit deeper when really we need to be focusing on the savings element, structuring our mindset to be less about categorizations and color coding charts in our budgeting app, and much more about putting money away for ourselves first. First thing we do every month. And then a lot of times we don't even have to get to the budgeting. We can just enjoy the rest of
Yep.
our life if we're taking that first step towards ourselves, on a daily basis.
So it sounds like you're trying to teach people to have a good, healthy habit. Like don't get caught in the weeds and the details, because if you start with this one habit, it should set you on in motion, which is that saving 10% first,
Mhm.
and then other things should fall in life. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I mean, habits are powerful, but they're powerful for you or they can be
Yep.
powerful against you. And so, a big part about making money work for people, because money is something that we all get stressed out about. I mean, nobody has probably had a budgeting conversation with their spouse at the kitchen table and left off in a better spot in the relationship. Usually, you
Yeah.
leave that budgeting meeting and you want to kill each other, right?
Little
So,
friction.
yeah, a little bit of friction there. So it's about creating sustainable approaches for our money. Just
Yep.
like the diet that requires you to be really strict on what you're eating and really strict on how you're exercising and really strict on everything else, you might be able to do that for a week or for a month or for a year, but you're probably not going to be able to do that for the rest of your life. And
Yep.
so the same thing is with finances. You need to create a sustainable approach, something that you can do and maintain and keep going forward with it. And so if you just focus on saving that 10% first, I have money come in every month, I take 10%, I put that aside towards me, and now the 90% that's left, I can kind of spend it guilt free, so to speak, because I did that first step. That's something that's sustainable. And
Yeah.
that's the mindset that we have to get into good habits that are sustainable, that will put us on a good path going forward.
Joe, do you also help so your clients think about sort of that greater why? We live in such a consumer society now. It's give it to me now. We don't want the delayed gratification. We want it today. So that thinking for the future, that savings can be a little bit distracting. One of the key things with a TED talk is a story. Do you have
Mhm.
like how are you going to pull this all together? And do you help people think about a greater why at all?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I started to learn about money at a much younger age than a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't because I was really good at running a lemonade stand across the
Yeah.
street. It was because my mom and my dad were divorced. And so at around 11 years old, they were divorced. When you have to go from the house on the lake with the big lawn and the two-car garage and now you're living, on a side street with
Yep.
no garage and a tiny lawn. It's a big change, and the reason for that is money, and
Yep.
you have to start kind of learning that. And seeing my mom struggle with that, being a single mom, having to go back to work, she didn't have a college degree. That was a really big story in my life. And so with the firm that I'm at now, I interned here. I'm now the owner of the firm. I've been here 17 years, and the founder is like my father now.
Mm,
He's a huge influence on my life. And so he worked with my mom. He had her come in when she was, when I was an intern, when obviously we were younger then, and she came in and he just completely changed everything. And
wow.
so it was around this structure of you don't need to micromanage everything. You need to do the most important things first.
Yep.
And then, the rest of it, is going to get sorted out and it'll go in a better direction for you. Flipping that equation really allowed her to flip the future course of where she was going. And that's why I'm here today. That's why this is
Wow.
personal for me. This is something that I want to do for so many other people out there. My mom was literally dancing in his office at the end of that meeting. And, so that's what I want to do for people. I want to give that same experience. And I can't work one-on-one with everyone.
Right.
So again, how can we get this out there? How can we help people when we can't work with everybody one-on-one? And so hopefully this TED Talk will be a great way to get that kind of message out there and really make a
Yeah.
big impact for people.
So I didn't know that about that your mom had had that personal experience with the firm that you're at. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So tell me, what does success look like after you've done this talk, for the people that see it, and how do you want them to feel?
So I want them to feel empowered for sure,
Yep.
because it can be so overwhelming. You look at, everything around you, and like you said before, there's so much information out there. And so there's short lines of information and there's kind of a long line you could follow. So like in a piece of music, if you just cut off 5 seconds of a piece of music, it's going to be really hard to tell. Is it good? Is it bad? Is
Yep.
it, you don't know. And so the long line is what brings you through the performance. For me, that illustration is most if you have a favorite national anthem singer.
Yep.
So for me, there's a gentleman named John Brancy who sings at select New York Ranger hockey games. And he comes out, he's this baritone, he's got his tux on, he's got a ranger scarf, this tight beard, and he just takes you through the night. He's saying all the same words,
Yep.
but when he sings it, I get goosebumps. So,
Yeah.
it's about creating that long line, that sustainable approach that you can follow in a way that does empower you. You don't have to be overwhelmed. You can kind of sink your teeth into just the most important, simple thing that you could do with the biggest impact, and that'll just take the load of what you may be feeling off of you. And when you're not feeling that stress, don't you think you're going to be more present with your wife, with your kids? Don't you think you'll be more present in your community, being able to make more contributions? So it's a snowball effect to really make a bigger impact for people and how they then impact other people out there.
Yeah. It's the ripple in the pond,
Right.
and it's
Yeah,
just going to keep
exactly.
going.
Exactly.
Well, I have to say, I am so excited for you, to take the TED stage. I think you still have a little bit more time before that happens.
Yes.
And then the other thing that just to keep in mind is TED can take a while to release it. So you don't know
Mhm.
when it's going to come out. So it's probably at least 45 days just to get you, and then it could be even longer.
Mhm.
So then like preparing the world, getting them excited to hear and see you is going to be so exciting. So I'm so incredibly proud of you. I'm so grateful for our friendship and that you invited me to be here today so we could share more of our journeys together. And I wish you tremendous success.
Thank you, Paula. And yeah, you're right. And right now, what you can do, everybody, is you can go and see Paula's full talk, which is awesome. The Power of the Handwritten Note. Mine presentation or my TED Talk is going to be in February, so on Valentine's Day, 2026, down in Eustis, Florida, outside of Orlando. So I'll keep working on my way to get there. But Paula
Yep.
has just a great message that
And
everyone can
people
share
can
with
buy a
them.
ticket to come hear you too, if they're in that area, they want to travel,
Sure, there you
which is
go.
so to have like people there cheering for you. And I also hope part of what success looks like for you is that your daughter's book maybe dovetails a little and helps reinforce some messages, or maybe she'll do a youth TED Talk someday.
Oh, there you go.
So
Okay.
she might get double inspired by what you've done, the book and the talk.
You got it. And she's an actress, so she's
Oh,
more comfortable on the stage than I am.
I just think we just set the universe in motion for her.
Yeah, absolutely. So people out there, you have this impact that you can have on other people, on your kids. They see what you do. People around you want to be with you if you're doing these really purposeful things. So have that impact for other people out there. And if I can be a help on anybody else's journey, just let me know.